friends, we have Kickstarter mail. So this came in just today. I am obviously incredibly excited. I've been patiently waiting for it. There was a bit of a delay. So let's open her up. Love these. I never want to spoil myself, so I'm always like super careful how I open it. Oh. Okay. We'll start with a freebie. So this is a 2025 calendar. That was, I believe it was a reward. Thank you, Sarah. Enjoy the tarot deck. So this is all free as well. And here's the deck. So we'll show the deck so I can tell you what it is, and then we'll do the freebies. We have the Ancient Greek Tarot by, I have no idea how to say that, loukoumh. Again, could be saying the name wrong. She's a Greek, Netherlands illustrator and tattoo artist. Her tattoos are so amazing. Check out her Instagram. I'll put her Instagram handle on the screen so you can see what it is. I've been waiting for this for so long. Printed in China. Okay, let's look at our freebies, our little pack of freebies. So this is the reason why it was delayed. Apparently there was a printing issue with the Queen of Pentacles. So this is the corrected Queen of Pentacles. Now it's my understanding that some of the decks had already gone out to people when this error was caught. So she stopped mailing and waited for the production company to send the replacement card and then resumed mailing. So I was in the second batch. So that's why mine was delayed for a little bit. Now there is nudity. I'm going to warn you, there is illustrated nudity. I don't know what these stickers contain, so that's why we're positing for this here. I think the stickers might be okay. Obsessed. Cute little Medusa with her statue man head. Is that a siren? Or I think it's a siren. Half bird, half woman. Yeah, that's a siren. Cool. And oh my God, how cute is this Minotaur? Okay. So the one thing I will say, I want to open the calendar because I want to see when it starts, because I just received this today and there's only a couple of days left of March. So basically, I believe I've lost 3 whole months of this calendar. Now I know it was a reward and it's a bonus, so I should just be happy to receive a bonus. But I would love to have enjoyed the art on this calendar for the last 3 months. So I want to see where it starts and where it ends. I mean, it says 2025, so I'm going to guess it starts at January and ends at December 2025. I was gonna say it starts in February. No, it starts in January. And we end in December. Really excited. We can look at this at the end. I just don't want to spoil any cards. So if I remember, we'll flip through this at the end. Okay, so a couple disclaimers. I received the PDF guidebook for this on December 31st, 2024. So I have had the PDF guidebook for a long time, and I thought I would be a good girl and be able to refrain from going through the PDF guidebook before receiving the deck, and no. So I've had a very long time to peruse the guidebook before receiving the deck, and I have made notes more specifically for the video. so that I would know what myths were which myths were what. And I've also I've picked up some notes about it. So we'll talk about them as we go through it. The guidebook, it should be noted as well, was extra. I had to pay extra, and it is a PDF. Let me show you what it looks like. So here it is on my iPad. I didn't want to print it. It's 176 pages, and I didn't want to print it black and white. Also, my black and white printer at home wouldn't have been able to handle it, not to mention my color printer. It just would have not done it justice to not print it in color, and my printer can't work that way. So we have the Fool, we have upright and reversed keywords, a little blurb about the Fool, but then what I love about it is she includes the myth and she includes her inspiration reference photos for that card. We are going to talk about the Fool again, so I'm going to leave that on that page, but let's get into it. So she talks about the box. Sirens, they're on the front. So as I mentioned, sirens are half bird, half woman things. They're not often mermaids as they are depicted a lot of the time. Inside of the box, I am loving. So we'll set this aside. We have gilding, beautiful, beautiful gilding, and Medusa on the back. Obviously not reversible. This is like a soft pink. I don't know that the camera is picking up the true color of it. I don't know what order the cards came in. So obviously the major, I just want to prep myself for my notes. All right. So I might be flipping through paper as we go. So we have the Fool, and this is the myth of Icarus. I'm going to talk about this one again at the end, where I'm going to give a little more insight into some of the cards and myths. So Icarus is the Fool. We have the Magician, which is Circe and her little boar friend. Love it. Looking fierce. We have the Pythia as the High Priestess, which is the oracles at Delphi. And for the Empress, we have Artemis, that works for me. We've got nature, childbirth, all that jazz for Artemis. So they are not really glossy. Ooh, they are good. That's a good cardstock. For the Emperor, of course, we have Zeus, who's a very problematic character, but in my search of trying to find a god I can relate to, I've learned that they're all problematic. For the Hierophant, we have Calchas, who was a prophet, kind of a big deal for the Trojan Wars. So having a prophet as the Hierophant I'm okay with it. I enjoy that. So for the Lovers, we have Sappho, which was a poet. For the Chariot, we have the Phaethon, son of Helios. So he tries to drive his chariot, he tries to drive his father's chariot across the sky, and it doesn't really go well. And I think he is eventually struck down by Zeus. For Strength, we have strong women in ancient Greece, so women from Sparta. It's not a specific myth, so some of the cards you'll notice are not specific myths. They're just kind of people depicted. So this one is not anyone in particular, just strong women of Sparta. For the Hermit, we have Jason. So expedition to find the Golden Fleece. His journey, she writes in the guidebook, is a metaphor for seeking wisdom, reflection, and inner growth. So I definitely looked him up because he's not alone. Like, he has this whole ship of people helping him the entire way. So I was interested to see her reasoning for Jason as the Hermit. But his journey is a metaphor for seeking wisdom, reflection, and inner growth, it works. For the Wheel of Fortune, we have the Sphinx. I like this. I like how everything is depicted in the corners. For justice, we have Themis, who's the goddess of law. Makes perfect sense. Now I'm noticing that some of the, like, these are kind of blurry. I don't know if that's intentional because the rest of it isn't, but just, I even noticed some of the numbers on some of the cards were a little blurry. Doesn't bother me, don't mind, just pointing it out. For the Hanged Man, we have the Minotaur. So she says that he symbolizes being trapped in a cycle or a situation that requires a shift in perspective. So really interesting play on the fact that, you know, he was dealt these cards, and these are the cards he's dealt, and he has to deal with that situation whether he likes it or not. So like that one. For death, we have Thanatos, who is the personification of death. For temperance, we have Demeter. So she embodies balance, patience, and harmony with nature. Not sure. I mean, the wings are obviously from the OG RWS, but I don't know that I would have picked up that this was Demeter. I'm looking for wheat. Don't necessarily see any right off the hop. For the devil, we have Hades. Pretty self-explanatory on that one. And for the tower, the guidebook simply states ancient Greek architecture, which is fine. For the star, we have Asteria. I had to look this one up. So she's a Titan goddess of falling stars. Actually, she is Hecate's mom. Didn't know that either. So after the Titans' last war, Zeus chased Asteria across the sky, but she escaped him by turning herself into a bird. I also read that someone else turned herself into the bird, or turned her into the bird, not sure. And then she was turned into an island. So to me, it's kind of like there's always hope, even when being pursued by Zeus. There's always a chance that be hopeful that you can escape that situation. And the end might not be exactly what you had in mind, but still got her out of her pickle. So for the moon, we have Selene, the Titan goddess of the moon. Makes sense. For the sun, we have Helios. Look at those eyes he's giving. Titan god of the sun. For judgment, we have no one in particular. We'll have to maybe review the guidebook for judgment, but I don't think it is anyone in particular. So there's another one we'll set aside. And for the world, we have Gaia, goddess of the earth, mother of all creation. Love this. Okay, so now we're going right into the Knight of Wands. So the guidebook is structured so that it goes all of the knights, all of the queens, all of the pages, and then all of the aces, twos, threes. So I'm hoping that the deck is structured the same because that's how my notes are. So all of the knights are, from what I could tell in the guidebook, no one in particular. So we have the Knight of Wands. No, is this knight or, yeah, it's knight. Now we go into the King of Wands. Okay, so it is different from the book. King of Wands is Dionysus. We have our party boy. Queen of Wands. So it looks like we're going through all of our wands. So Queen of Wands, we have Athena. In the guidebook, it says vengeful and jealous, but a strong leader and a protector. For our Page of Wands, we have Arato, one of the 9 muses, love, poetry, and lyricism, I believe. And the aces are all jewelry inspiration. So, as is what we normally see in the RWS, it's going to be a hand, but we have jewelry inspo from ancient Greece for the aces. The Two of Wands, we have the Sphinx. So she killed anyone who couldn't solve her riddle until Oedipus was able to do so, and then she threw herself off a cliff, I think is the cliff notes of that. We could visit the guidebook for this one if we like. Three of Wands, we have Odysseus on Circe's island. So I did have a note to put this one aside as well to discuss. Four of Wands, we have weddings in ancient Greece. So again, this is no one in particular. It's just the vibe of weddings in ancient Greece. For the Five of Wands, this is where you're going to hear me turning pages. We have olive branches. For the Six of Wands, we have Atalanta. I didn't know who this was and had to research her for purposes of this video. She is a badass hero. She's a huntress, a wrestler, and there's a story of two centaurs who had, let's say, unpure intentions, and she struck them down. So, big fan of Atalanta. For the Seven of Wands, we have Penelope. Wasn't too familiar with Penelope, but she was Odysseus's wife, and in the purpose of the Seven of Wands, she defended herself and her position as the ruler of Ithaca while Odysseus was gone. So love that as well. For the Eight of Wands, we have Hermes, so god of travel, among other things, but that's most fitting for this card. He also flies through the sky sometimes, so like that one. We have the Nine of Wands, which is a more general version. It's the Amazons. It's a race of female warriors, so there we have that. Ten of Wands, we have Sisyphus. So the myth here has been changed to branches to match the RWS, but in his OG myth, he made the gods mad. He's killing people and cheating death, so you don't do that around gods. They tend to not like that. So they punished him by forcing him to roll a boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down and for him to have to start all over. So the boulder has been changed to our wands here. Right now we're into the swords. So we start with our knight again, which is no one in particular. The king is, it doesn't look like it spells king. I mean, you figure it out pretty quickly in your brain, but at first glance, it's like, what? Okay, so our king of swords, we have Ares. Shocker. Our warrior man, warrior god, not a man. We have the Queen of Swords, which is Hera. I think that's fitting. Our Page of Swords, again with that G. The Page of Swords is Hypatia. This was another one. I highly encourage anyone to look up her story. She died around 415 AD, and by died, I mean she was murdered. She is one of the first documented females to teach philosophy, astrology, and math, and she has quite the tragic end, but she was also badass. We like her. Ace of Swords, again, we just have the jewelry. Two of Swords. This is hilarious because the notes in the guidebook say this sculpture, and she shows a picture of the sculpture that this is modeled after. So we have the swords added up top and the blindfold. Three of Swords. Again, this one was just inspired by other decks. Love that purple heart with the eye. Love that. The Four of Swords. Epione, so she's the personification of soothing of pain and the care needed for recovery. The Five of Swords. This is Hercules and the Hydra. So you would cut the snake's head off only for two more to grow back. And we can see, oh, there's a hair. We can see the nod to the flame, that it wasn't Hercules that figured it out. It was someone else whose name I can't remember, that when you burn them, they don't grow back. So a nod to the fire of the cauterization of the Hydra's heads so they don't grow back. 6 of Swords, we have Odysseus on his boat. So he journeyed back to Ithaca to see his wife and son after 2 decades. We talked about his wife, Penelope. So he's moving on. The 7 of Swords, we have Satyrs. So very tricky individuals, sometimes quite nasty. Definitely understand them for a 7 of Swords pick. 8 of Swords, we have Daphne. So she was pursued by Apollo against her will, so she turned into a tree to escape him. There's always a way out, friends. Turn yourself into a tree. So the 9 of Swords, we have Alcyone, not sure. So Morpheus, the god of dreams, appeared to her to tell her that her husband was killed by Zeus. So we've got obviously some dreams that are not quite amazing, even though they were true in here. Ten of Swords. So this one is a bit different. This is not a Greek myth at all. In fact, this is an allusion, not illusion, an allusion for Saint Sebastian with an ancient Greek take. So Saint Sebastian is obviously an early Christian saint, and her explanation in this book is basically that she wanted to put him in here, so he's in here. So that's a bit different. And here we have our Knight of Cups, which again, our knights aren't anything or anyone in particular to my knowledge. King of Cups is Poseidon. We have seen him represented as the King of Cups in other decks, so no surprise here. Queen of Cups, we have Aphrodite. Page of Cups, we have Eros. No surprise there either. Ace of Cups, again, just with our jewelry. 2 of Cups, we have the Minoan snakes. 3 of Cups is the it's a chorus, so it's a group of actors who like narrate plays with song and dance. The 4 of Cups is Echo. So Echo was a nymph who had an entanglement with Zeus, and Hera made her only able to repeat the last words that were spoken to her, hence the name Echo. So she ends up falling for Narcissus, who he didn't love anyone but himself and eventually his own reflection, and his rejection of her left her heartbroken and isolated, symbolizing the emotional withdrawal and introspection of the 4 of Cups. So that last bit is taken from the guidebook. My Cole's notes of the myth is my own. We have the 5 of Cups, which is Eurydice. I have to think about her name every single time I say it. Eurydice. So she was the wife of Orpheus. She dies from a snake bite, and Orpheus goes to the underworld to get her back. One of the only people to do that. And the one rule basically that they were given of successfully getting her out of the underworld is to not look back at her until they reach the upper world, and he looks back. He looks back and loses her. So grief and loss of his wife. I have a note to set aside this card as well. 6 of Cups, we have Demeter and Persephone. So Demeter making another appearance. There's a couple that make more than one appearance. So Demeter and Persephone, obviously, I think a lot of people are familiar with their myth, but in the sense of the 6 of Cups, we have like nostalgia, memories of happier times, past memories of a time when they were together, or perhaps, you know, when they get reunited, all that feeling comes back to them as well, the feeling of the 6 of Cups. The Seven of Cups is, it's nothing. She says she's stuck to the imagery with Greek influences. So again, we have another one of these cards. So no one in particular. The Eight of Cups is, here we have what I just spoke of. We have Orpheus and Eurydice, which this is why I wanted to set this aside. So we have Eurydice in here twice. So I think this is capturing the emotion of like the grief of the Five of Cups. And this is talking about literally not looking back. So we talked about the myth. I don't need to talk about the myth again. So was there anything else I wanted to say? So accepting loss, walking away, leaving something behind. So obviously when he looks back, he sees her being pulled back into the underworld and he has no choice but to move forward. He has to leave her behind and move forward. So this is my interpretation, is it's mostly the myth, and this is mostly the feels. So the Nine of Cups. You know what, we'll put that aside just in case. The Nine of Cups is just stated as luxury. So there's, again, it's no one in particular. It's just a Greek twist on luxury. Put that one aside in case we have time to read the book. 10 of Cups. We have the Maenads, so female followers of Dionysus. And he would be, I think, quite pleased with this group of performers for him. And now we are at the Pentacles. So we have the Knight of Pentacles, which no one in particular. We have the King of Pentacles. This is one that I would have been able to piece together without having to look it up. A lot of them I would have had to look up just based on imagery alone. But this is Hephaestus, so practical, works with his hands, makes sense. Here we have the error. Okay, now I see why we needed a replacement card. So let's just, in case it's not obvious, we have a stamp on her thigh. She's got a bit of a modern tattoo, if you will. So Queen of Pentacles is Hestia. So she's the goddess of the hearth and home. Makes sense. The Page of Pentacles is the Chori of the Acropolis. So a group of female statues. An Ace, again, is our jewelry card. Two of Pentacles is the Orania. So this is another one of the 9 muses. Urania, perhaps? Astronomy, astrology. That was her area of expertise as far as a muse goes. 3 of Pentacles is Minoan women. Again, no one in particular, just Minoan women. That's another one I want to read about. 4 of Pentacles, we have King Midas. I think this is pretty self-explanatory as well. We have the 5 of Pentacles. This is another one I probably would have been able to piece together myself. We have Pandora. So obviously we know Pandora opened a box she shouldn't have opened, but in the bottom was hope. So I think as far as the myth goes, the idea of hope being left is where we're at here. 6 of Pentacles, another one that I think is pretty obvious and a lovely choice, is Prometheus giving fire to humans. Prometheus looks rather young in this one. Then we have the 7 of Pentacles, which is Scylla. So this one, I really kind of had to do some thinking about how her myth ties into the 7 of Pentacles. So patience and perseverance are keywords here, and, you know, she has to play the hand that she was dealt kind of thing, so she has to persevere. Maybe she needs patience for eating her, is it 6 or 7 men that she eats who go on their boat through her little strait area? Not sure. Six maybe? I can't remember. 8 of Pentacles. So this is Pygmalion. He is a sculptor. I read a book called Galatea in January or February. I think it was January. And so it's in my monthly wrap up. This is why I read the book, because I knew after reading the guidebook for months before receiving the deck that this card was in this deck. And I wanted to know more. So Galatea is who eventually becomes his wife. I'm not going to talk about the book, but the myth, he's a sculptor and he has very low opinions of women. He makes this sculpture and he decides the sculpture is his perfect embodiment of a woman and he will love no one else. No one is as good as this sculptor. So he asks Aphrodite at her temple to turn her into a real woman. And she does. So he falls in love with her and marries her. So obviously Pygmalion is pretty problematic. And because of that, the creator decided to make this card to women. Approve. 9 of Pentacles, we have more jewelry. That's what it says in the guidebook. So no one in particular, just more jewelry. And our last card here is the 10 of Pentacles, which is the Morai, or otherwise known as the Fates. So the concept of them is referred to one's fair allotment or portion, originally one's portion of loot from battle. And the idea eventually began to be applied to one's fair allotment in life. So that's where we come into play with the 10 of Pentacles. I had to look that myth up. The reason I'm saying that is we're going to talk about it. Okay. Oh yeah, I wanted to show our 2 sphinxes together, but that's okay. So I'm not going to shuffle or anything just yet. I'm really impressed. Oh no. I spoke too soon. That Queen of Pentacles is a little bit, want to bet money, that's the Queen of Pentacles. It's not quite the same size. I can feel that it's wider. It's obviously a little bit taller. Oof, not cool. That is unfortunate. How noticeable is her leg tattoo? Dang. That's really unfortunate. Okay, well, there's that. So, I thought I would go through the guidebook for some of these. First of all, I wanted to talk about the Fool. Oh, that makes me mad. The Fool, represented as Icarus in this deck. I don't mind Icarus as the Fool. However, I wish it would have been represented as the beginning of his journey towards the sun, because he doesn't know what's about to happen to him. He doesn't know that his journey is going to end in this incredibly tragic way, which is reflected in this card. I think he's even crying. There's even tears there. The sun's even upset about it. So I would have preferred him going towards the sun, because at that point you have no idea. In the Fool's journey, you have no idea if it's going to end in tragedy for you or not. She did portray him going towards, now that sun's angry. She did portray him going towards, and she says, this was the first attempt to make this card. Since it was the first one I started working on, looking back on it, I thought it missed the tragedy of the myth, so I decided to approach it differently. I chose this moment of the Icarus flight when I was reworking the card. So she has a little detail here about a special connection. I really wish it would have been the beginning part, because I feel like that more so embodies the Fool. You don't know what your journey holds. You don't know what your trip holds. It could end badly, but you don't know. It's all about potential. It has the potential to be great and the potential to be not so great. So for Judgment, I did make some, I think my note about Judgment is to just, yeah, because it's no one in particular, we can go to the guidebook and have a peek. Now, I did put page numbers on all of these to reference, except this one. I mostly got inspired by older Judgment cards and the general ancient Greek aesthetic for this one. So she does reference the older cards that she's speaking of. So I do enjoy that. Okay. The next one is, so this was just another one that there was 2 Sphinx, but I do kind of want to see what the 2 of Wands myth is, or how it was linked to the 2 of Wands, how the Sphinx myth, apparently I cannot do 2 things at the same time. So it just talks about the myth of Oedipus and her riddle. Not entirely sure there. So another one I wanted to take a look at is the 3 of Wands. Oh, I was smart and put the page number. Love myself for that. So the reason why I wanted to look at this one is because I think she was mostly inspired by this painting. Actually, that's exactly what it is. So him gazing longingly at the sea. Next one I have selected to look at is the 5 of Cups. So this is the one where we have 2 Eurydice. Eurydice, not sure. And I think I've figured this one out, so I don't think I'm going to look it up. I think this is more of the emotion of grief and loss, because she passes away and heads down to the underworld. So it's a grief and loss for both of them, for her hubby and for her. And this is the journey and like actually quite literally not looking back. The 9 of Cups, what page number are we at here? So luxury. So since this card was made almost at the end, I wanted to create something of my own inspired by the rest of the cards. I wanted to create a luxurious couple who enjoys their life using references that I collected throughout this whole process. So that's her inspo. And here we have the card. Three of Pentacles. Minoan women. In ancient societies, women were usually relegated to domestic and reproductive roles with few opportunities for education, politics, or leadership. However, the Minoan civilization presented a contrasting perspective. Women in Minoan society had a more prominent role in public life, as evidenced by their participation in religious and cultural events, their inclusions in artwork, and their high-ranking positions in the palace bureaucracy. And then she has her reference material as well. Love that. Now the 10 of Pentacles. This is what I want to talk about with the 10 of Pentacles. I love this deck. I mean, it is quite the pity about that one card not matching up, but we'll figure it out whether I put the other one back in or not. Not entirely sure. So in my research, where I was making my notes that I've been referencing this whole time because I wanted to get all of the myths right, some of them I decided to Google to figure out what the myth was. To figure out how the myth linked to the 10 of Pentacles, for example, in this case, how the Moirai linked to the 10 of Pentacles. And the Wikipedia link was the first one that came up. And I feel like I have to say this. I don't care necessarily, but the Wikipedia link wording is word for word what's in the guidebook, the PDF guidebook that I paid for this deck. So I just wanted to mention that is something to be aware of, that the PDF guidebook does appear to be Wikipedia information. So if you were perhaps wanting the guidebook, you might just be cool to go to Wikipedia. I wanted the guidebook because I needed to know in instances of, some of them are really obvious. Like I wanted to know what this was. I would not have known that was Sappho. I would have no clue without the guidebook. So ultimately, I'm happy that I have the guidebook, but just be aware that is something to note. I still love the deck. I'm really bummed about that card being just ever so slightly bigger. Maybe I won't care after time. Who knows? And also in the guidebook, as I pointed out, there are some spelling errors, there are missing spaces between words, stuff like that. I do not think English is her first language, and she does identify as she, her. I checked her Instagram. So I don't think it's her first language, so for me, that's a pass. That's fine, doesn't bother me. And that's it. I think that's all. Let's do a shuffle. I just peeked at my notes to make sure I said everything I wanted to say. I think this is going to be one of those decks that is quite stiff to start. You're going to have to break her in. I don't want my ring to... Yeah, she's going to need to be broken in. We've already dented her, so that's okay. It's not impossible. I have incredibly weak hands. I will be the first to say my hands are very, very weak. So anyone with any kind of shuffling practice or skill would be beating me out for sure. Oh, the thicker side is quite difficult. Ooh. Not bad, friends. Overall, I'm impressed, especially with the freebies. Oh yeah, we wanted to look at the calendar. Let's take a sneaky peeky. I kind of I wanted to put this up at work, but I'm not going to because problems. That would cause so many problems. I thought about putting it on my baffle so that people couldn't see it, only I could see it. But if someone comes into your desk, they're seeing it, and that would be highly inappropriate for work. So I don't know where I'm going to put it. But I'm obsessed with this calendar. I was so excited to receive it. So excited. The Hierophant is probably one of my least favorite cards in the tarot. And it has 2 holes, so I'm not sure where to put this bad boy. And of course the months, they have little details that pertain to the cards. So we've got the hourglass there. We have the pomegranate here. Love it. I love little details like that. We also have our moon associations happening. So our grapes for Dionysus. And then the back, which is our back of our deck. Love it. So excited. Definitely not going up at work though. And that's that. Let's do a little overhand. Let's not act like it's our first time. I don't feel that bigger card. I thought I would, but when everything kind of gets jumbled like that, nothing is even. So I don't feel it. So I think I'm going to keep it in there. I probably will keep that Queen of Pentacles. Maybe use it as an altar card or something. But yeah, I do not feel that at all shuffling this. So super glad about that. We can see her though. You can find her wherever she is. Can you see her? I can. Dang. But that's it. That is the ancient Greek tarot. And it is by Eleni Koumi. I will link her Instagram. I'll put it here on the bottom so you can check out her Instagram because like I said, her tattoo work, so good. If you like this style of art at all, definitely check out her Instagram. And that's it. Thanks for watching.